And can you just stay standing because we lost a few of our friends and neighbors this week, so we're going to have a moment of silence. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks. Could we please have a moment of silence for the three people that passed this week? Paul DeMora, who, as you might be aware, was the son of Paul DeMora Sr., who was our highway supervisor, superintendent for many years. Stephen Gately and David Sylvia. Thank you very much. First on our list is the reorganization of the Board of Selectmen, and I hope you can all welcome Mark Pacheco, who is our new selectman. He was in this Saturday's election, and obviously he won, so he's here.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mark.
The first thing we're going to do is reorganize the board. We have a chairman to pick, a clerk to pick, and a member will be the third. Is there any motions on the floor?
I'd like to motion that Peter Karen continue as chair.
Second?
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter Karen is an aye. Thank you. Clerk, usually it's the new person that comes in if you want to do it, Mark. The only thing you really have to do is fill in when I'm not here. And supposedly you were supposed to take notes when Karen's not here, but usually Leanne fills in, so I was glad that never happened.
Perfect.
So
I'll
is
look
there
at
a
the minutes close.
motion on the floor to appoint Mark?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mark as clerk.
I'll step down and second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
And Peter Karen's an aye.
I'd just like to, just a little discussion on this.
Sure.
I think it's good that we're getting back into the rotation, that on your third year as selectman,
Right.
you're the chairman. It just makes sense. It gives, as a new member, I know, like, if we stick with this rotation on your third year.
Yes, it works out great.
You learn the process, and
Sure.
so I'm glad going forward we're back in that
Right.
rotation. Yep.
It's
thank
been a
you.
while, but thank you, guys. We're going to move right on to appointments. And one of the things I had said earlier was that we want to have public input both beginning and the end, because the gentleman who is here tonight has to leave. So we're going to have public input at this stage.
Can I make a motion
Yes,
that we
please.
have an extra public input at this time?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? No, sorry, I said that backwards. Thank you. Peter Karen is an aye. Bill?
Thank you all for accommodating me. I've got three issues to Bill Moore, 1835 Smith Street, Board of Assessors. I have three items to discuss with you this evening. And first, probably the most important, is welcome, Mr. Pacheco.
Thank you.
I hope your term here is calm and productive.
I hope it's productive.
So welcome. It's good to see you up there. The second issue is, I believe I've spoken to some of you about this, is the issue of the appointment or the hiring of a clerk in the Board of Assessors office. Now, we've had some issues with hiring people in the past, most recently with the police chief, as we all may be painfully aware. And we need to get with a proper procedure for hiring people. Now, I didn't even want to get involved with this, but I ended up getting involved with it and researching what is the correct procedure in the Board of Assessors office. Now, we do not have any bylaws that even establish a Board of Assessors for the town of Dayton, so we fall under Massachusetts general law. Massachusetts general law states that the Board of Assessors shall exist and, 3 people and elected and all the stuff that we do. But when it comes to the office, it simply states that assistant assessors shall be appointed by the Board of Assessors. And we did receive a legal opinion that said the idea of assistant assessor is sort of left open. It's open for interpretation. What exactly is an assistant assessor? My personal opinion as assistant assessor is anybody that's assisting assessing, which is the people in the assessor's office. So, but the strongest piece of evidence I see, though, is if we look into the policy manual as developed by the Board of Selectmen, the prior I don't think any of you were on that
It was
board.
actually three prior, yeah,
It was like
yeah, it was actually three different.
three
boards
different
ago,
people were
yeah.
on that. So that particular policy manual, if you look on literally page 1 of that, shows a diagram of the town of Dayton and the government of the town of Dayton. And it clearly shows there are voters up at the top, then there's the Board of Assessors, and then under the Board of Assessors is the lead assessor, and underneath that is the assistant assessor and the clerk. So these people report to the Board of Assessors, who report to the town of Dayton. It does not fall under the Board of Selectmen. So using this, we discussed it, and we want to follow open meeting law. In our last meeting, we did, to the best of our ability, follow the law in that we had 3 candidates that were proposed to us and 1 that was recommended by our lead assessor. And after reviewing the 3 candidates, we did come forth with a person that we believe was the right person for the job, and we selected them. And as per what we believe is right, and we don't want to step on your toes, that's not the point. We just want to believe that this is the correct procedure. We said to go ahead and make an offer of employment. And one of our other assessors, Nancy, she had requested that we send a letter, which I believe is in the packet today.
It is, yes.
Stating that we are looking for is your ratification, meaning we were very particular on that word, because what we're saying is that we're letting you know that this is the person we picked. And we kind of expect it to be just a rubber stamp. So I don't know if you have any questions or want to discuss that, or I don't think there's any disagreement on this matter, but if there is, I'll gladly entertain a discussion on it.
Glad you guys took the initiative and did it the right way.
That's, and by the way, and I did speak with the town administrator Mullen about this whole issue, and one of the things he promised me is that after the budget process, we will be fixing the very convoluted hiring process. I mean, I looked at it, and if you've spent any time looking at it, literally there's a diagram and there's text, and they don't match. So how do you know what the right thing to do?
Right.
Speak of the devil. Just for the record, Nancy, that just means you walked in when I was talking about you. That's all.
Well, I hope you told them the truth.
I did. I said that you sent them a letter. So where was I? Oh yeah, so I lost my train. So we're going to be, Mr. Mullen is going to work on fixing that hiring policy, that it both is consistent and agrees with open meeting laws.
I agree with you that if you have a clerk who works for a assessor who works for an elected board, that it would make sense that the elected board is the hiring authority. And but like you said, this is kind of like, this is Melanie's moment, so I think we should have that in a separate meeting. But I do agree that we should discuss it.
I'm sorry, when you just reminded me, I'm sorry, I forgot. You know, you rehearsed what you're going to say before you got here. I'm not just talking about Board of Assessors.
No.
There are multiple elected boards, being town clerk.
Yes.
I know treasurer, collector, sewer commission, library board of trustees. If you look at this map, it all says the same thing. The employees of those offices report to the elected boards. So thank you, I forgot about that. Okay, so that being said, the last item I wanted to talk about is I spoke to you a year ago, or at least 2 of you I spoke to you a year ago, about what we're doing about senior tax exemptions. And we said we would put an article on the warrant to change, to make sure that we bumped up the limits, and we wanted to see what effect that had before we didn't want to go too far too fast in increasing, making more exemptions available. So spoke with Stephanie today because our deadline has passed for people to apply for the exemption. And with the lowering of all of the limits, or should I say the raising of the limits, the lowering of the requirements. With the raising of the limits and the extensive amount of PR campaign that we did, we've gone, Stephanie has gone to Council on Aging meetings, and we have tried to put it in the Strawberry Vine, etc. Our number of seniors who have taken advantage of this went from 39 to 35. It went down. So
What were you telling them?
so Just trying to wring all those pennies out of the little old ladies. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So at this point, I would like to recommend that the Board of Selectmen go forward with putting an article on the warrant that would allow us to reduce the age requirement from 70 years old to 65-year-old, so that more seniors may take advantage of this exemption. And if you're in agreement with that, I mean, I can work
Just a
with that.
quick question. I'm sorry to interrupt, but has actually, typically that type of warrant article request would come and be requested by the full Board of Assessors?
Okay.
Has the board voted on that at all?
No, we have not, and I don't recall that happening last time, but we certainly can do it this time.
Today's the deadline though, right? Tonight.
That's why I'm asking.
Oh, is tonight the deadline to get on to the warrant?
Yes,
Can we get a placeholder?
because it is still today, and it's being asked for today. I would say yes.
Thank you. I think it's that important to the residents
Yeah.
that we're trying to help.
Yeah. Why'd you come up with 65? Just,
That was the number. You'd say, I believe it's either 70 or 65.
Okay.
That's your option under Massachusetts state law.
okay.
I'm not trying to be there's two Board of Assessors here. We just put something on as a placeholder,
Without-
but we don't have a posted meeting of the Board of Assessors. We're kind of having a quorum issue. I agree with the senior exemption, you have my support, but we have procedures, and I feel like this here didn't follow the procedure. I went in the Board of Selectmen's office today and asked our town administrator to, I was just elected at the annual town election, and I kind of said, you know, almost if I didn't take my oath, I wouldn't be qualified. But I didn't see anything in the bylaws that said, you know, you take office once you're qualified. So it kind of was like Mr. Hull could still be the selectman unless I took my oath. So it's kind of like that's something we need to clarify. But I realized I had missed the deadline because that would be an action of the Board of Selectmen. And because I didn't do it, I said, well, it's worked for 300 years. We can wait until, you know, November to fix that. So I just feel like in this case, I do support it, but we didn't follow the procedure. I think we should wait. That's just my opinion. Sorry, you're the chairman.
No, it's okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I may?
sure.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Bill. Nancy Goulart, 631 Great Terrace, Board of Assessors. I understand what you're saying, but this is something that just came up, I think, and I agree. This is very important for the residents because we've all tried to come up with ways to help them tax-wise that we can do within the regulations and everything else. I understand there are two assessors here, and I understand I just asked for a placeholder, but in all honesty, Mr. Mullen has potentially 3 placeholders that I asked him for based on no vote of anything. And they're all for pilot agreements, simply because when I asked him for placeholders, I didn't know the status of them, and at this moment, right now, tonight, I don't know the status of them. But with a placeholder, I'm hoping 2 of them are going to be ready for town meeting. So, again, I'm not questioning procedure, but what I'm saying is, if the Mr. Mullen and the board agrees that, look, we'll allow this, because if this is not going to be allowed, then the 3 that I asked for with no vote of anybody should be considered either. So, and obviously at the time that I asked for those, this situation had not come up, but I think it's
Could I just ask a point
important.
of clarification? When you asked, were you asking in your capacity as a Board of Assessor?
I'm sorry?
Were you asking in your capacity as an elected assessor?
The assessors haven't seen them. I asked them because I'm the person that's been blessed with the task of kind of putting together pilot agreements, which will eventually go to the board and then this board. So let me just say, it's always been kind of a loose process, even going back to the ones that were presented before.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Dahl.
On this issue, I would caution this board. A member of the Board of Selectmen has brought to your attention that there is a potential violation of the open meeting law. As a result, any action that is taken, if it were found that there was a violation, would be null and void. So please keep that in mind when you decide what to do with this. Maybe you can get more creative, figure a way around it to make both sides happy, but you're working on very, there are individuals who monitor these meetings. No one particular one that would be all over this if he were aware. So just give that some thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Does
Excuse
anybody
me,
else wanna? Go ahead.
I just have potentially a creative thought
Yep.
to try to deal with all this. And we would have to, and we would notify everyone too. But as we know, the board meets next on April 24th. We could structure that agenda, hear me out, structure that agenda that at the beginning of the meeting, we have the warrant opened. We reopen the warrant. Any other warrant articles that we have in our hand at that time would be entered into the warrant. Then by the end of the meeting, we close the warrant. And that if we had everything backed up with relevant board and committee votes by that point, that could be an ability to try to seek to accomplish the intent, generally speaking, of what is actually being talked about here without running risk or afoul of any open meeting law issues.
Does that set a bad precedent?
It's clunky, but I think we do. In terms of, in light of all how we're evolving, we do have these processes because we've been working on really putting definition and defining what we have and examining what we have and is not really working. Maybe as we go forward as well, we further define the use of so-called placeholders in the future. I like that we further define it and better set the expectation of how they're used and not used going forward. So in the future we could have greater clarity. But in the here and now, even though it's a little more clunky, it's a way to be able to accomplish the intent of what's being discussed. Just an idea, but I just want to.
I like it. We're trying to work with our boards. We're trying to do good things for our taxpayers. And of course, I love what you're trying to do, but I also respect our processes and any of that. So I feel like we shouldn't start a precedent. So we all kind of can learn from this and say we'll do it this time, but we're not going to make a precedent of this every time we have an annual town meeting and a warrant process. But this kind of happened organically. We're trying to follow the open meeting law and also trying to work with our other elected board who's trying to do good things for our taxpayers. So that's just my opinion. As a one-time thing, just to cure this issue, I think it's worth it.
How do you distinguish that between the next person that comes along that says you did it for them? And again, I agree with Mark. I think it's a great issue. Don't take it wrong. Take me wrong. But you've done it once. Why can't I get the same treatment?
I think exactly based off of what Mark said, that this happened organically. This is a one-time thing. I know that it can open up a can of worms, but.
And also to that point, and to really answer that question, I think if we really work over the summer, we have a lot of work to do over the summer, but to better define that, we won't run risk of having any issue going into special or any future annuals either, because by going into the special, we would already define it, better define what the expectation is, that everything in advance of everything closing would have to be, if it's coming from a board or committee, it would have to be backed up by a vote in advance. So, and if we clarify that and further define that over the summer going in to the special and beyond, then we would have that structure, greater defined, so we wouldn't have to really think about making any exceptions in the future too.
When do you guys meet again? Yeah, Somewhere around there. Yep,
Yeah, so it's 2 weeks from now.
okay.
I don't think they should talk anymore.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think,
I don't know what other way to say it, I'm sorry.
Lenny.
No,
Go ahead, Lenny.
24th.
You could have a joint meeting. They could come in and take their vote, and then you guys vote. Boom, boom.
Well, we said it's on the same day, the 24th.
Yeah,
You do it during the day, you have a meeting at night.
okay. Nancy, you had your hand up, I'm sorry.
As Mr. Mullin said, opening the warrant again, this is not anything new.
No.
Over the years, we've had to do it.
Okay,
When a situation arose that, once the warrant closed, it's closed. However, in the past, there have been instances when something came before the Board of Selectmen that was urgent enough that they opened it up, let everyone know it's open,
mm-hmm,
get that done, and you don't have a flood of people coming through the door.
no, right,
Right, and then you close it, but at least you can get it before the people.
okay,
For my own situation regarding pilots, I'm not acting on behalf of the Board of Assessors at this point. This is a carryover from when I was a selectman and got the job of doing these. And even when I wasn't a selectman any longer, pilot agreements have fallen to me because I know how to put them together. So in effect, I'm sort of acting not as a selectman, but for the board
mm-hmm,
to pull us all together. And then the next step will be, I will take it formally to the Board of Assessors, because they have to look at it and approve it before it goes to you, and before we send it to the company for approval, okay? So there are steps we have to follow.
okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to wait till the end, so I don't take up, you got people here waiting.
Okay,
I'll wait till the end.
sure.
The second public input.
Public input, all right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to put on the Board of Selectmen agenda at our next regularly scheduled meeting to reopen the warrant for the annual town meeting.
Don't you think close the warrant in the same evening?
To open and close the warrant in the next regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen's an aye. Thank you, Bill and Nancy. We appreciate it very much, and I'm sure the seniors, and that number's gonna go way up.
Get to 36.
It better not go down again.
That's
Oh, so
okay.
the overlay would roughly stay the same right now, generally speaking, because if it's dropped?
Great. Okay, moving on to appointments then. A is review, discuss, and act appointment of Melanie Silva as senior clerk for the assessor's office. We're going to change that appointment to ratify. So we're going to ratify ratify Melanie Silva as senior clerk for the assessor's office.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to ratify the appointment of Melanie Silva as senior clerk for the assessor's office.
I'll second that.
All those, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen's an aye. Thank you, guys. I'm glad it worked out for you.
Welcome to Dayton, Melanie.
Unfortunately, she's sick.
Sit,
Yeah.
Oh, that's not a good welcome.
But when is she going to start? Monday or
Tuesday.
Tuesday? Great. Good. That should relieve a lot of the pressure in that office.
She's a good fit.
Good.
She has
Personalities matter.
lawyers' offices, so she's familiar with
Right.
documents that we need, you know.
Okay.
So we-
Good.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for your time. Bill, I know you have to go, but thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to appointments again. B, review, discuss, and act appointment of Joan Cunningham as program aide to the Council on Aging. Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is Joanne Cunningham,
Hi, Joanne.
and she has been with the Council on Aging now for a year. She was working for us under the Senior Community Service Employment Program, which is a training program. And one of our regular employees, primetime employees, had to leave for medical reasons. And under the contract with this program, we have to hire her. And she's great, she's great. We've already asked the program to clone her and send us another one.
Oh, cool.
So, Joanne had decided, we offered her the job like we have to, and she decided to take it.
Okay, great. And this is part of a grant?
This is part of no, the position that she took over is through, the funding that comes in through the Primetime Day Supportive
Okay.
Adult Day Program.
Okay.
But prior to that, she's been working for us under a state program
Yeah.
that was paying her.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Mrs. Mello, do you have any questions?
No, I was confused when I saw her. I was like, I think she already works there. Maybe
Yeah,
this
she
is
does.
a different position. Okay.
Right, she was on the training program, and now she works for the town. We had to, and that was part of, we had to hire her as part of it.
I have some, yeah, what's your favorite thing about working with your job
Oh, there
over
isn't
there?
any one favorite thing. I
No?
just love the whole thing, yeah.
Awesome. That's good. Well, thank you for your interest in working for us, and we appreciate you coming out tonight, and
Thank you.
yeah, that's awesome.
Great, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Okay,
I-
E and D are no
What was
longer.
that vote?
We gotta make a motion.
Oh, I thought we did. Sorry. Is there a motion to appoint Joanne as the aide to Council on Aging?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
I
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Thank you again. Review, discuss, and act appointment of a BOS member as appointee to Bristol County Advisory Board. I believe this board meets once a year.
Yeah, once to twice a year typically.
Yep.
Definitely once, maybe twice.
Okay.
It is in my opinion, like a very important position.
Yep.
It does bring Dayton's voice to the county budget process, especially with the county. Oh yeah, like having its agricultural high school right in our backyard. We've always had like a really good relationship with the county, especially the high school. Honestly, as well, like as the APA program has rolled out and rolled on as well, the advisory board has been able to weigh in that process as well. So it is an appointment, in my opinion, of like a pretty great importance. So.
Okay, great. Thank you for that information. Does anybody want to be that member?
I have interest if nobody else does.
Sure. Mark, do you?
If you have interest, that's wonderful. I don't want to add more to your plate. I know former Selectman Hull had the spot, so if I'm happy, if you're happy, yeah.
Okay, great.
So with that said, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Selectman Mello to the Bristol County Advisory Board.
I'm going to step down and make that a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, you guys.
Okay. Review, discuss, and act appointment of a BOS member as appointee to the Fire Station Building Committee. How often do they meet? Once, well, they're supposed to meet more often than what they do, I think, right?
Yeah, like we do expect the whole feasibility process to get going relatively soon.
Okay.
And so the fire station building committee, I expect we'll be more active in the coming months. One of the roles that the BOS member appointee has also served as a key role, through the negotiation process we've had with the firms as well. So it's
Okay. So this is more than a liaison. This is
Yeah.
actually being on the board.
Yes.
And voting on decisions and.
Yes, when the fire station building committee was established in December of 2022.
Right.
At that point, that committee was actually constructed with the Board of Selectmen actually having like a member of that committee rather than just a liaison.
Okay, great, thank you. Anybody have an interest?
I don't mind taking it. I feel like you guys shouldn't have to take on things that are,
Sure. It's
I
an
just-
interesting project.
yeah.
It's,
My thing, do you feel like a liaison is more appropriate than because I feel like I almost get two votes. Like if I'm on it, I get to vote on all the nitty gritty, and then I get to vote here up on the selectman side.
we had written like you said, in 2022, as there would be a representative from the Board of Selectmen on the committee.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is like currently written in. But the
Right.
board, I mean,
Can change
as
that.
you know, always has a prerogative to update it based on the board's discretion.
Okay.
Personally, I'd prefer not to have a vote, but I'm happy, you
Yeah.
know, I would like to hear what you guys think.
I think I'd rather have you there as a committee member.
Okay.
Instead of just the liaison. Because really, the liaison is just to come back to the selectmen and give an update as to what's happened.
Right.
With the committee. But I think to change that number now would not do a service.
Okay.
I don't know how you feel, Nicole.
Yeah, I agree,
No problem, that's fine.
Okay.
but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Mark.
definitely. Okay.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Mark as a member to the Fire Station Building Community.
Okay, I'm gonna step down as chair and second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. And the last appointment is a BOS member as a liaison to the Dayton and Development Industrial Committee. Does it still meet once a month, Lenny?
Yes.
Okay,
The, last Monday of the month.
okay.
Fourth Monday, I'm sorry.
Fourth Monday of the month. Any discussion on this, guys? They've done great work,
They have.
and they still continue to do amazing work. I don't know what happens at the meetings. It's only been Lenny updating us through his chance at the selectmen's meetings. But I think it's a busy commission to be on.
An incredible commission. They worked closely with Serpent to develop Dayton's economic development. And if you haven't seen it, take a look at it. It'll be an unbelievable example of the work they've done. In addition, the directory, the business directory that they created of all the businesses in the town and contact information. All volunteers, they've done incredible work.
I have seen that economic development plan, and I've seen the business director. I think they're doing great work, and I know they're an active board, and they have a lot of energy. And I know there was a similar discussion about the historical commission, and I feel they have the direction, and I'd prefer, instead of a liaison, to see them just come to the board and update us either quarterly or on some sort of basis,
Okay?
than having a liaison update the board. That's just my opinion.
Sure. Nicole, do you have any?
No, I agree. I had stepped away from several of my boards just because
Right.
they were committees, because they were doing the work and that's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And have them come forward, so.
Okay. Does anybody want to be the liaison? No? Okay.
Can we not have a liaison and have them?
Yeah, no, yeah, there's no requirement to have a liaison.
It's not that we don't want to be a part of them, but they're doing their job, so.
Right. It's just like the historical committee that runs so well.
Do we need a motion or anything in regards to that?
Yeah, like, I mean, if the board wanted to just, vote to, like, say they didn't want to have a liaison, that would be fine.
All right. Then let's do that, if you guys agree. Then, is there a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion for the Board of Selectmen to strike the liaison position for the Dayton Development and Industrial Commission.
I'll
there a
second
second?
that.
And just
Motion made?
one thing under discussion for a
Sure,
second.
yeah.
I think, like, my thought process and principle behind this is we have so many boards that are appointed to the Board of Selectmen, who all, when they organized, had some sort of guidance from the Board of Selectmen. You know, this is the way we want you to go. And then, instead of having a liaison who's gonna report, I prefer, in general, that these boards that are appointed by us, just to come back and update us, because then as a board, the three of us can guide the board on how we feel, versus my view might be different than, that's why we have a board, you
Right.
know? So that's just my opinion on it, and that was kind of, I know our Development and Industrial Committee's doing a great job, so that's all I have for discussion.
Yes, that makes sense. So, we made the motion and seconded, is there, discussion has happened? Is there a vote?
Aye.
And Peter Cameron's an aye. Thank you.
The Town of Dayton Food Bank will be held next on April 20th, 2024, located at the Town Hall, 979 Somerset Avenue in the lower level. On Saturday, April 27th, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the DEA will coordinate with the Dayton Police Department for a one-day collaboration prescription drug take-back event. This event provides an opportunity for public to surrender pharmaceuticals, controlled substances, and other medications. The Dayton Historical Society is holding a spring floral and edible container fundraiser on May 5th, 2024 at 4 p.m. Arugio's Farms, 1522 William Street. Stop by and get your plants for your gardens. This event is rain or shine. The Dayton Historical Society is holding a plant sale on Saturday, May 18th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Wilson Davis Museum, 1217 William Street. Stop by and get your plants for your garden. There's no reason not to have plants, I guess, after those.
Yeah.
Bulky item curbside pickup is scheduled for Monday, 5/20/24 through Friday, 5/24/24. Tags may be purchased at the Board of Health, 1111 Somerset Ave in the rear entrance. Contact the Board of Health to order your tags at 774-872-0943. A separate tag is required for each item to be disposed. Bulky item schedule is the same schedule as your trash pickup, and items must be out no later than 7 a.m. There will be a blood drive sponsored by the Dayton Health and Police Department. This will be on July 13th, 2024, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Town Hall, 1111 Somerset Avenue. Is that everything? Yep.
Great, thank you. I think that's the most we've had in a while.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 9, Town Administrator's Report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a few quick items. Number one, I just wanted to give an update on the ongoing water district efficiency and regionalization progress update. As you know, as the board knows, the board entered into an agreement with Wood and Curran in mid-February to perform the analysis, and make recommendations on how to really look at, assess, evaluate, and hopefully improve the structures between the town and the water district. So we have officially kicked that off now. In the packet, I included a timeline of kind of where we are, where we've been, and how we're working to close out this whole project by the end of June, which we're very much on track. We've been talking with the water district on this. We want to make sure we do this hand in hand with the water district as well, so we do this in a very collaborative way. One of the things that just really in scoping out the project and the process as well, that I wanted to ensure happened, and that the water district had the ability to, once there are recommendations, giving both the town and the water district together the ability to provide comments on those recommendations. So both us, in the district, whatever the recommendations are, we both have the ability to do that at the same time. We did, actually the last 2 weeks, we've been working, both the town and the water district have been working on a data request, basically a public information request that Wood and Curran and their financial subcontractor, Ref have looked for basically information on budget, information on debt schedules, information on capital planning, aspects along those lines. A lot of our town operations and financial staff, we met internally early this week with Wood and Curran and Ref to talk about the different types of financial structures that exist between the water district and the town. We also had Building Commissioner Aguirre and Superintendent Ferry join us as well to talk about the building department, and also especially the highway department and infrastructure coordination, and how that process happens as well. And that process is very helpful or very relevant, especially with regards to our new pavement management plan as well, because as we hopefully in the future plan out, oh yeah, like where we're gonna target infrastructure improvements, we wanna make sure and do that in sync, and do that better in sync with the water district as well. So it's looking, oh yeah, the type of things we're already talking about is, do we have the ability, like regardless of what the recommendations are or what they'll say, do we have an ability to like even work, all work together to do joint procurements? So when we hire a contractor, we're hiring one contractor to do the work between the town and the water district to better align our different project-based, and warranty type of things along those lines as well. So this process is really, it's a very quickly moving process, but I'm excited about it. Like I also know Nancy, they're meeting with, have they met with the assessing team yet, Nancy? Or like, are they doing that tomorrow? Do you know, I forget what date it was. The folks,
We don't have a meeting tomorrow.
maybe it was actually next week, maybe, like the Wooding and Curran, they wanted to check in on the,
Oh, I know. what you
have a
mean.
discussion with assessing.
We volunteered for that. I'm
Yes.
waiting for a date.
Oh, okay, I'll follow up on that. Like, I thought I saw a date, but I could be wrong.
Well,
But-
the last thing I remember was they were looking for somebody and they said, would you be willing? And I said, yeah, okay, I'll.
Okay,
But the date isn't.
found up. All right, I'll follow up on that because, that's a really big component of that as well that we want to make sure is really captured from assessing. So, any questions on that? Just really quickly, everything seems to be on track there.
Was the regionalization grant, was that voted on by the Board of Selectmen?
Yes.
Okay, and
Yes.
same with the water district?
Yes.
Like they voted, and,
That was critically important for that to
Critically
happen,
important.
yes.
and when you, the discussion now between the town and the, water district, that's probably, you're talking to the professional staff, it's not commissioners, or, I'm just curious how it works.
We have actually, when we, initially applied, actually, then Superintendent Clunin was involved. We have worked to make sure, that as a Commissioner Clunin is involved as well.
Awesome.
So he's been invited and engaged as well. We want to make, sure that everything we're doing here is really a collaboration with the district.
It's awesome,
So,
good job.
thank you. Other questions on that, just actually, as we talked very quickly about earlier, we do, actually the close of business today, was actually the original deadline for the warrant articles. We will be bringing a full list of them and what they are, to the board, at the meeting on the 24th as well. And just on, everything's evolving every day on a whole host of things, but one of the things early today, the House Ways and Means Committee came out with the FY25 budget proposal. In that, they actually increased the minimum aid from an increase of $30, in FY25 that was proposed by the governor, to an increase of $104. So what the board had advocated based on the MMA's advocacy, in a letter to our legislative delegation, I believe at the beginning of March, that that advocacy together with I would imagine the advocacy of a whole bunch of towns and school districts has really had an impact so far. It's early on in the process. I mean, one of the double-edged kind of swords there that we learned today was, even though the minimum aid increase was increased from the $30 to $104, the 3% increase in local aid that was initially part of the House budget. No, the initial 3% increase in local aid that was part of the governor's budget proposals under the House proposal is now at 1%. Ooh. And so, I mean, I was kind of anticipating that type of trade-off, but it's all part of the back and forth throughout the whole state budget process that we really won't have finality on until the week after school vacation. The House will actually consider amendments and vote on that part of the process. Then the budget will go to the Senate. like, and then it goes to a conference committee after that. So this whole process and where we are really won't have a finality, probably to the beginning, all of July, well after we have to have a balanced budget recommendation, voted on and in place. So
That 1% is gonna hurt.
yeah, yeah, like, I mean, like, it'll have an impact, but it, like, our local aid of revenue, in FY '24 was $924,000. The 3% brought it up to $952,000. So we're probably closer to, I'd say, 930 than the 952 right now.
Yep.
So it's an evolving thing, but I just wanted to bring everyone up to speed on that.
Great, thank you. Anybody have questions for Mike?
Nope.
No.
Just a thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate that's a good, I appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Are there any selectmen's reports? This is a time, you might be aware, where each selectman can speak on the liaison, or I guess anything else if you have any reports.
I just have, and we'll see it later in the agenda, we did have a resignation of a COD member, so we do have an opening. I have something out on Facebook looking for members, so that's all I have at this time.
Okay,
I have one if you don't mind.
sure.
So the annual town election was Saturday, April 6th. So I have the unofficial results from the town clerk, and I just wanted to mention who our newly elected officials are in the town. So for town moderator for 3 years, Kevin Smith Jr. Board of Assessors for 3 years, Nancy J. Goulart. Dayton Rehoboth Regional School District for 3 years, Christopher M. Andrade, Glenn A. Jefferson. Parks and Recreation Commissioner for 3 years, Kevin Smith Jr. Library Board of Trustees for 3 years, Rita A. Arujo. Board of Sewer Commissioner for 3 years, Thomas C. Ferry. Board of Sewer Commissioner for 1 year, Mark W. Nakora. Town Clerk for 1 year, Shara A. Costa. Planning Board for 5 years, Daniel G. Higgins. And Tree Warden for 3 years, Thomas C. Ferry. It looks like there was, according to the unofficial results, 542 ballots cast. So I just wanted to say thank you for all of the elected officials who have served us, and welcome to all of our newly elected officials. And I see Selectman Hull in the audience, so I just wanted to say hello. That's all.
Mark, do you know how many were mail-in ballots by any chance?
I didn't get that date in front of me. I know we talked today about
Yeah, like
that.
I've heard anecdotally, it was really high, but to be honest with you, until I see that in writing, I don't want to talk about an anecdotal number that's
Right.
in my head, but
Absolutely.
until I have confirmation.
The transfer station, we had a solid waste committee meeting on Monday, and we did have pizza.
Oh, I missed that
Just to
committee.
rub that in. And one of the things that came out of that was a new price list for the bulky items that get brought to the transfer station. And there were 3 changes, I think, 3 increases, and then everything else was pretty much going to stay the same.
Yes.
Except you now, were always supposed to, but they will be enforcing removing the Freon from air conditioners and refrigerators. Another thing that we had talked about was trying to make it more solvent, as the expense of trash is out of control. I don't want to say too much more because the committee hasn't made a vote other than the increases of those 3 items, in elimination of
Half a truckloads and full
Trailer.
truckloads of half a truckload, full truckloads of debris, and then half a trailer, and then full trailer loads of debris as well.
Right.
What actually that is costing the town to dispose of for a very a very small but very identifiable group of people is it's just really something that's really not sustainable at this point.
Okay.
Peter, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Because I see a lot of folks on Facebook asking about Hazarded Waste Day.
Yes.
It's my understanding that we weren't going to have it this year, is that correct?
We didn't discuss it yesterday, but we'll certainly find out,
Okay.
and we can discuss it at the next meeting.
Okay. Bless you.
This year.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
excuse me, 40% were mail-ins.
40%.
That's what they told me when I went to find out what the results were on Saturday. And Becky came up to me and said 40% were mail-in votes.
Wow, that's
So it was
great.
a good- It was a good return. so to
Yeah,
speak.
absolutely. Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Okay, old business, FY 2025 budget update.
Yes, so like our budget process is, like it's still very much fluid and ongoing. Like as I think everyone probably knows at this point, we're having another joint meeting between the Selectmen and FinCom tomorrow night, based on the potential options and paths forward, that like were introduced and generally discussed, like at the last joint meeting, almost actually 2 weeks ago. We want to get the and hopefully through the meeting tomorrow night, some potential paths to balance will be discussed. Those areas that we can find consensus. Really could be identified. Like right now we have a deficit between $200,000 and about $250,000 we need to close. We do have options. Like we're trying to obviously do everything we can to minimize impacts in service. Already at a baseline level, we do have a very bare bones town operational budget to begin with. So we're really having to any adjustments, any adjustments that we're making, we are trying to any changes or recommendations of being approached very thoughtfully, so we can really try to minimize impacts. Any impacts to budget. We get the budget cuts that we have to make. But the fact of the matter is really, we have planning for FY25. We have 800,000, just almost 900,000, like a new year-to-year revenue, just on the education side alone. We have an increase of over $1.1 million. That is just that. Plus over and above of what our town operational costs are, but that's what we're trying to reconcile with. And that is really the challenge that, Dayton, like every other town faces. We have an educational funding model that as we as we go forward, we do have a priority on education, public education, but the funding model just has to be sustainable. And that's really what we're trying to work with and reconcile with at this point. In terms of at the same time, all of our non-discretionary costs like trash that we continue to see year over year, pretty significant increases as well. So that's what we're trying to reconcile. I think we do have some good options in terms of path forward with the FinCom, and that is really going to be the work over the next month to really bring us home into a final proposed warrant with a budget. So,
And the meeting tomorrow night, do you think that will be the last meeting with the FinCom?
we hopefully it will be the last meeting for a few weeks. Then both groups will then have an opportunity to come back on their own, make recommendations. And then probably before we finalize the warrant, we'll have to talk about recommendations for proposed warrant articles as well. So we'll probably have to regroup with them for that, and then at that point to reconcile like close out any really differences in lines and things like that, and to assess. Oh yeah, like how we want to plan for that in terms of the recommendations
Okay.
going into the June 10th town meeting.
Any comments for?
I have a question. If you don't mind. Sorry, I'm gonna have a lot of questions.
No, that's
No,
fine.
that's good.
Don't be apologizing, it's okay.
Thanks. So this week I emailed the town accountant and I
Yes.
just had asked for a list of any departments, boards, or committees who are late for submitting their budget. I know as town clerk and more recently on the cemetery commission, we've seen that budget letter that comes out every year and it says budgets are due by January 31st. And if not received by then, it says something along the lines of you'll get a 0 recommendation from the Board of Selectmen. I'm not proposing we do that, but I had just asked for the list, just so I could be aware.
Yep.
I didn't get a list. Basically, I got all were received by February 6th, and she didn't have like the dates, basically. So I was just wondering if I could ask you if you could
Yeah.
just look through your emails or if
Yep.
you received them in paper. I feel like it's important to know who made the deadline and who was late,
Yep.
because I think it's important to make deadlines. And if any were approved in advance, could you just share with the board,
Yep.
just through an email or
Yeah,
something?
yep,
It'd
absolutely.
be nice just to know.
Yep.
Because I'm under the impression, I believe one of our bigger budgets, we haven't had a board vote yet on.
No.
And I think that's an important factor, because I think that's a budget I personally will look at closer. And I know at one of the FinCom meetings I went to, a gentleman came in and said he hadn't submitted his budget yet, I believe is what I heard. I might have heard it wrong.
Oh, yep.
And I don't want anyone to feel bad, I don't want to make anyone to look bad. That's not my goal, but I just think that, someone like the boy who cried wolf, if every year we say, we're gonna give you a 0, recommendation, but we never even discuss it. So I would just like to know for myself. I'm not looking, I don't think I'll make anything. We don't need to make a big deal about it, but I just need the information.
Yeah, nope, I can absolutely
I
work
think
on
we're
that.
still missing one budget, correct?
Yeah, actually, two that I know of, but one is extremely small. That is, that's the gentleman who we heard from at the last FinCom meeting, and I'll follow up with him. But yeah, we do have one department that we have a recommendation, that we have a recommended request from a department head, but it hasn't been ratified by by the board yet.
Great, thank you. We're going to move on to new business, and letter A, review, discuss, and act the Bristol County Agricultural High School and Bristol Plymouth Technical School debt exclusion process, a vote and a timeline. Mark, I know you asked this to be on the agenda. Do you want to?
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So that was just something I mentioned in my campaign about having a debt exclusion for November. I thought, I really want to hear what the board's idea and input is on that. I just wanted to just kind of say what my thought process was. So my thought process was November is kind of when we have the most voter turnout in town. We could have upwards to 80% of voter turnout, so we have a good chance to capture a lot of what our residents feel on the debt exclusion. But it also gives us time to plan, because, it's April now and we have quite a few months to plan and educate. I am not in municipal finance, I don't know much about it. So, debt exclusion I had to educate myself on. So I will ask Mike if my understanding is correct on it, but I thought, the way I envision it is if the board likes this idea and it's something that we need, I feel like we need, in my opinion, just to include some others. So I'd like a recommendation from the FinCom. I'd like our town administrator involved, our accountant, to see if we should put up just the debt incurred from the BP project or the Bristol Aggie and BP project, because I don't know. I know DLS and DOR, they put out great guides for debt exclusions, but I'd like to see, to confirm with the accountants that we don't need to go to town meeting, it's just a ballot vote. That's what I've read online, but I want to make sure. I'd like to refer to the town administrator and the town council on how to advertise this, and educate the public without crossing the line of the town taking a stance. And I'd like to refer to the town clerk on when we have to make a vote to add these questions to the ballot. My research indicates, I think it's the first Wednesday in August, so, you know, we do it prior to August if that's what the board wants, but I just know, you know, our assessment for debt for the BP project is gonna increase, and we're having trouble now paying our, you know, we're running in a deficit now, and I'm not a municipal finance whiz, so I might be saying this all wrong, but, I think I'll be able to talk more eloquently on it if this is
Okay.
something we want to move forward with.
Sure.
That's, I guess, what I have to say.
So I don't think we'll act on it this evening, because we can't vote on a debt exclusion right now. There's certainly a lot of people that you want to hear from first before the board makes a decision.
Yes.
So, is there any discussion, Nicole, right now about a debt exclusion? or-
No, I know that residents have been asking, and it's a hot topic, so I think it's important that we start to address it.
Right, it's been, talked about, a debt exclusion, and also combining both Bristol Aggie and the Bristol Plymouth. Just because it makes sense to have the two, it's like a mortgage, pay it, and, as opposed to just one. But, I'm all for a November, timeline. I don't know the process as well as Mike would, maybe even as well as you do. But I think the debt exclusion is something that might be a real thing to consider.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mullen, so my understanding of a debt exclusion is it is like a Prop 2.5 question, but it's not permanent.
Yes.
Like if you, an override, right? So it's a temporary.
Temporary for the
increase
life of the debt
For
service.
the life of the debt.
Yep.
So that hopefully will help people at home too. So this would allow us to raise extra funds just to pay the debt for, let's say, Bristol, Plymouth, or Bristol Aggie, or both, without, you know, depending on how the discussion goes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I would like to make a motion to refer this to those folks, you know, to refer to, for the Board of Selectmen to refer to the town clerk, to email the Secretary of the Commonwealth to confirm we can add these two ballot questions on the November ballot and when the vote should take place, to refer to the FinCom, the town accountant, and the town administrator for their recommendation if we should put both Bristol Ag and Bristol Plymouth up for a debt exclusion, or if we can get away with just one. I'd like to refer to the accountant to confirm with DLS or DOR that we don't need to go to town meeting and the other steps. This is a long motion. And I'd like to, for the Board of Selectmen to refer to the town administrator and town council on what you can and can't do as far as advertising and public education.
Okay, that we can act on.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Thank you, Mark, for
Thank you.
putting that on.
Just I lost it after the first sentence. Can we repeat it?
Oh, shit. I typed it out.
A review, discuss, and act fiscal year 2023 audited financial statements, management letter, and single audit for approval.
Yes, you know, this is a really, I believe a very bright spot, very bright spot for the town. Yeah, for the town. These are the type of nuts and bolts that really don't have, really the glamour in what we do, but, it does really, it does really show what we're doing, and, and from the treasurer's office, from the accountant's office to my office, to the selectman's office, and even, and even other departments like the police department. We do have now our final FY23. We do have our final FY23 audited financial statements. And accompanying that, we also have a FY23 management letter, which is the cleanest management letter So in terms of the comments that, it has and identifies, the comments in FY '23 had the least amount of comments than we had in like the last 5 years. Like in prior year comments, we have had issues, we have had issues like we've had issues reconciling police detail accounts. We have worked just extremely hard with the PD and through the treasurer's office and all of us to actually close that comment out and to have a detailed aging account process that was really up to date. Really the highlights. Highlights in this year's management letter. Really that we continue to strengthen and improve our financial processes. One of the highlights as well, I really want to point out and recognize the efforts of the treasurer collector. He has worked really hard in terms of addressing the town's tax title balances that were common, and that were an issue that was identified for the better part of the last 5 years. He's really taken that initiative and owned it. And as you probably read the management letter touches on what he's been doing in the success he's been having in doing that. So I just want to recognize the efforts. I just want to recognize the efforts of the treasurer's office and his staff there. Also this year, in FY '23, based on our ARPA spending, we've had a single audit completed, which which is an additional audit that actually is a compliance check. That is a compliance check for procurement. That was a compliance check based on how we acquired 207 Main Street as a new home to the library. They reviewed all of our records there. They reviewed how we procured it, how we had or didn't have all of our ducks in a row to do that. And we have a very clean single audit there as well. A single audit isn't something we have done or do every year because we don't rely on a lot of federal funds. However, so when we have to have one, just like a lot of communities have had to have one based on ARPA spending, it hasn't been uncommon. Our auditors have mentioned to have communities like ours have small findings, and to have towns identify remedies to those findings immediately to really make sure a town's in compliance. However, we didn't even have a small finding. We had no findings at all. And it's just, it's something that speaks to, I think, the work that we're doing, the attention and detail really we're putting on that work and the success we're having in doing it. So we do have to have the board approve our audited financial statements, our management letter, and our single audit. But I just wanted to give everyone an overview of what was actually included in part of that process.
It's amazing the improvements that have come through, and that's because of you and the staff that's there. And you have to give them and I'm sure the whole board, appreciation for the job that they did. But this is an amazing audit that, if you read past ones, it's really come a long way. Mm-hmm. Okay, so is there a motion on the floor to accept the single audit?
The audited financial statements and the management letter as well.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the audited financial statements, management letter, and single audit by Roselli, Clark and Associates for approval.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I'd just like to echo your points about the hard work that not only our treasurer collector did, but our town administrator, and I'd like to give you some credit for making the financial team and even further clarifying it in our town meeting recently. You guys meet regularly, it's my understanding, and clearly this is a testament of so many people's hard work, but I'd like to thank you as well, so thank you.
Thank you, Selectman Pacheco.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter Karen's an aye. Thank you.
Like, I just actually realized we have a Selectman Pacheco again. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just dawning on me now. I apologize.
Yeah.
Review, discuss, and act, job description and posting for grant-funded council on aging outreach coordinator position. Hi. Sure.
So this is a temporary outreach coordinator position that we've recently had to create, and we were able to with some funding that we received through a grant that we recently got. And we have worked through all our funding accounts, and we are able to sustain this position going forward through our yearly formula grant that we received through the state. And so this is all new to us. We do need this position filled because since we've become a new council on aging, we do a lot of, we help residents with applications, for, whether it's for transportation or food stamps or, I'm losing my train of thought. So we're very busy and we need extra help.
Okay.
Because all these extra things that we have started to do is taking away from our other responsibilities. And so we have the perfect opportunity with this grant to hire an outreach coordinator.
Great. 1 year?
1 year grant. This grant goes through July 30th, 2025.
Okay. And what happens when the grant expires?
So we do have enough money in our formula grant budget accounts that we have to cover this going forward, yearly going forward.
For how long?
As long as we need an outreach worker.
Okay.
We've actually looked at our monies and how much the state is giving us for the next 2 years or so. And we do have some money still from a couple of grants from the past few years. So we can actually carry this position over.
For foreseeable future?
Correct,
Right.
correct.
The only thing that concerns me about grants and yearly appointments is when they run out, all of a sudden they can't live without them.
I know it.
And I don't want that to happen. If you have other monies that will pay for it, that's great, but it's a grant, it's a one-time position for a year.
Correct, and when we advertise it, we're gonna make sure that the person, these people that are applying know that it is a temporary position, you know, but we do have we will be able to sustain it, but for some reason, something happens, they'll know that they were hired temporary.
Sure.
With a good possibility of going forward.
Right, thank you. Nicole, do you have any?
That was my only concern, that we have something in writing and that there's transparency, that there's the possibility that this position could be terminated or
Yes.
whatever, a nicer word than that.
Okay, Mark, do you have any?
Who applied for the grant? Good job. I hear council on aging and grants in the same sentence quite a bit, so
Oh.
thank you for that. That's awesome.
Okay.
I didn't get to read the job description because we just got
Okay.
it. Who wrote it?
Between myself, Laura, and Mike, and Karen.
Awesome. And
So
you
it was-
recommend it? The job description, you happy with it?
I am happy with it. It covers a lot. There's a lot in there, and but it's something that can be done. It is, all these duties and responsibilities will be able to be done. We work as a team anyway, so we'll be helping each other out.
What's the most exciting thing that this person will do? Like the most helpful thing?
The most helpful thing is go to homebound elders.
Mm-hmm.
We've actually made some trips ourselves, and we have to leave the office and go to these people's homes. So I think to me that's the most important one, to go to their homes when they can't leave, they're homebound, and help them fill out applications for food stamps or their insurances. We hope to train them as a Shine counselor also.
Wow.
And to help them with their, applications for insurances. There's a lot, I can't think right now.
It's, all right.
Very
You've done
rewarding.
a great job.
Thank you.
If there's no other concerns, then we have a motion on the floor to accept the posting for the grant-funded Council on Aging Outreach position.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the job description and posting for the grant-funded Council on Aging Outreach Coordinator position.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye.
Thank you.
Again.
Good evening.
Thanks, brother.
We have a couple of resignations to go over, and the first one is from Tim Tulin, resigning from the Commission on Disability. Is there a motion on the floor to accept his resignation?
I'll make a motion to accept Tim Tulin's resignation from the Commission on Disability.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Resignation from Mark Pacheco from the Cemetery Commission.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Mark Pacheco's resignation from the Cemetery Commission.
I'll step down and second that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Resignation of Joanne Wilson as a member from the Board of Health Review of Appointment Policy and Process.
Yes, so like we do have Ms. Wilson's resignation, but like I just wanted to talk and just make sure everyone was clear on the, on the appointment process going forward as well. So after there's action on the resignation itself.
Oh, you want us to make a motion first to?
Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Joanne Wilson from the Board of Health.
I'll second on discussion, though. I'd like to
Sure, go ahead.
comment first. So the first two resignations on our agenda are just a resignation. This one has a little bit more to it. I didn't see anything in the packet, but I'm guessing that's because you're going to talk to it. My only thing, my first thought when I read it, because I don't know any background to this, is I would like to see an exit interview conducted for Joanne Wilson, and I think I could learn as a board member on how we can do better to make these board members' experiences better for the town, and might help us too. So I hope to hear from Joanne through a standard, kind of like a boilerplate, open-ended exit interview.
Good.
Thank you.
I did talk to Joanne just a few nights ago, and I think she'd be thrilled with an exit interview.
Awesome.
Thank you.
and I'm sorry, was there a vote?
We didn't finish our motion.
Right.
I seconded.
Yeah, motion made and seconded. And no further discussion?
No.
Can I have a vote, please?
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Thank you.
And in terms of the appointment policy and process, we do have an appointment, an appointment policy for boards and commissions, that applications for vacant positions go first to the board and commission, where the vacancy is, then the remainder of the existing board and commission, they have the ability to interview, and meet with the candidates as a group, and then provide a recommendation back to the board. And so we have already shared that information with the Board of Health. We do have, there is an open application process out. How long does that go to, Karen?
I believe
Sorry.
it is the 25th.
And that application process is open
Yep.
to April 25th, and then those, whatever applications there are, would go to the Board of Health for
Okay.
review. A recommendation back to the Board of Selectmen.
I know there were going to be a lot of questions asked at the interview process because of what they were looking for. And I believe we have one applicant so far?
I don't even know.
Yep. And if nobody is qualified that applies, what would we do? Run it for another 3 weeks?
Yeah, it depends on if, that answer I would say depends on whether there's a recommendation from the Board of
Okay.
Health.
Let's assume there's not, just because they've had a hard time filling these positions.
Yep.
What happens?
We, we could repost it. And the good thing is, we still do have a quorum with the Board of Health.
Right, okay. Thank you. We have a few facilities requests. The first one is for the Dayton Lions Club Annual Cow Chip Festival. It's typical, but same thing every year. Do you have any comments, Mike?
No, I don't.
Okay. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the facilities request for the Dayton Lions Club Annual Cow Chip Festival.
Is there a second?
Second, on discussion, though, I got
Sure.
a question, I'm sorry. Pain in the butt.
No, not at all.
Under insurance, it says the town of Dayton, they have to have $1 million policy, and I think we have to be named additional insured. Did they submit that with their application?
They haven't as yet, but they typically do. So we can make sure that they do that, and if the board wants to, or will consider approving it contingent on that, proof of insurance, that would be recommended.
Yeah, add to my motion that it would be contingent on receiving that.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any more discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
What else did I read? Hold on, I'm forgetting.
Are you looking for if there was a fee?
Oh, yeah, I had a question on the
Fee
fee.
waiver.
Is there a fee for that? No, okay. The town administrator agree? I trust you, Kevin, but
Yes, I trust, yes,
Okay,
yes.
and
I agree, I'm sorry.
I read something about a parking plan. Do we need a parking plan on file? Is that like public safety? That was under, I think it was like the last thing on, I can't,
I'll interject a little bit. 'cause
okay.
Somehow I got tangled in the weeds of field use. So there isn't necessarily a parking plan. The police detail will dictate that, and then typically there'll be, well, you know, because it's similar to when the holiday committee does lights on, there's certain barricaded areas that's, dictated through the highway department. But it seems to be the police detail will work that out with the group,
Okay.
so.
This kind of speaks to, our policies need some updating. There's a lot, like, we could read over it, but that's a problem for another time, so I'm good.
Okay. Any more discussion? Do we need a vote, please?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Thank you. The DR Baseball Car Wash at the Highway Garage.
I have the same question on the insurance.
They, I believe in the past, we have had proof of insurances from the school department as well. And yeah, I would just recommend a contingent on receiving that from the school department.
Okay. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion that we approve the facilities request contingent on its insurance, right? Is that what we're looking for, insurance? For the DR Baseball Car Wash at the Highway Garage.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. DR Softball Car Wash, again at the Highway Garage. Same set of concerns, I'm sure, Mark?
Yes, I'll make, it's the DR, I'd make a motion to approve the facilities request for the DR softball car wash at the highway garage contingent upon a certificate of insurance naming Dayton as an insured.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Motion made into second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Again, thank you. Again, facilities request from the Taunton Area Vietnam Vets Cruise Nights.
Just a clarification here, they have actually asked for the fees to be waived.
Okay. So this motion would have to include the fee being waived.
I motion that we accept the facilities request for the Taunton Area Vets Cruise Night and waive the fee.
Motion made
And contingent on proof of insurance.
Oh, and contingent on proof of insurance.
Second.
motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. And one last one, Dayton Historical Society 7th Annual Strawberry Festival. That's it? Just the 7th? They've been around longer than that.
don't
but,
know.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Maybe the zero's off.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the facilities request for the Dayton Historical Society 7th Annual Strawberry Festival,
I think they want the fee waived
fee
as well.
waived.
and to waive the fee.
I'll second that.
motion made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Moving on to approval of the warrants.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the warrants paid April 4th, 2024, 41A-24, $111,826.65, 41B-24, $85,880.82.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the warrants paid April 11th, 2024, $121,723.53. 42B-24, $103,068.23.
It just March 11th, I think you said 8th,
Oh, I'm sorry.
but second on that, yes.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Before we move on to minutes and public input, there's a schedule of rental fees in the packet. Is that something that was supposed to be voted on again?
No, that was actually
Just-
backup
Backing up
for all the
Okay.
our fee and the use
the policy
applications.
part. Okay. We're gonna move on to public input. Is there anybody that wants to be heard? No. Go ahead, Lenny. I'm sorry, he's been waiting here all night.
Two things. Earlier this evening, Mr. Mullen talked about the importance of the regional water agreement. And based on the meeting that I attended last night, the Dayton Water District, and that's one of the positions that I previously served as a liaison. And it is a very important one to get information back to town officials as well as to the public. There was an issue I've advised Mr. Mullen on, and I think some of the members have heard, involving the Water District and the Highway Department that probably should be made aware to all members if they're not aware of it. Last evening, the Water District did meet, and most importantly, beginning May 1st until September 30th, the water moratorium will be returning. You would ask, with all the rain, why? If you go down Cedar Street, you will see Cedar 1 is currently a hole in the ground that they are working on to reestablish. They're redoing Cedar 1. There are some problems with Cedar 2 and Cedar 3. In addition, as we are aware, they had problems and letters went out about their trihalomethylchlorate. And they have spent over $10,000 in flushing. The good news is that the water tank on Elm Street was inspected and was down during the inspection. And there are no major structural issues. They are hoping that the water disinfection byproduct compliance, which they're not in compliance, can be met with flushing, which Woodward and Curran will be working with them on doing. If that doesn't work, then there's no need to clean the tank, but there may be need to change a filter, and that is very expensive. On May 20th, the Dayton Water District will be having their regular election for commissioner. John Harris is running as an incumbent, and the deadline for applicants, if anyone wishes to run, is April 15th. And the annual meeting of the Dayton Water District will be May 23rd at Dayton Middle School at 7 p.m. There are a lot of issues with the water district, and usually the attendance at these annual meetings is 1 or 2 people. They're at a crossroads, and this moratorium affects developers, because as long as the moratorium is in place, no new permits can be issued to developers that are looking for Dayton Water District. Wells are different. So that does impact growth. That does impact permit fees. It does impact development to some degree. But it is something that impacts not just the water district, which is a separate legislative body, but it impacts the tax rate ultimately for all residents in Dayton, both north and south. And it also impacts the South District that relies on the Dayton Water District for water. That's all I have on that issue, on the water district. The next issue, I'm going to preface my remarks by saying that I respect that public input is just that. It is not open to discussion or debate. And it has been brought to my attention that there are some concerns about the implementation of the use of 5 engineering firms that the town of Dayton retained within the last 6 months. I also recognize the fact that the Conservation Commission, the Highway Department, the Building Department, and Stormwater fall under the privy of the Dayton Board of Selectmen. And with that being said, I would ask that the Board of Selectmen consider establishing a policy for when these engineering firms are to be called in on projects, who is to call them, and also a policy that would include when conservation can use a consultant that they have used for a number of years. There appears to be some confusion, and I think the best way for that to be addressed is if the Board of Selectmen, because it does fall under their policy and their domain, gives some serious direction about this. Thank you.
Quick question. Over the last 6 months, you're saying 5 different engineering companies?
Yes, MMT, Weston and Sampson, Granite City Partners, and I believe the last one was Woodward and Curran.
Yes, and I believe just like for clarification, we put actually 2 bids out. One we put out for like on-call architect and engineering services for like infrastructure and architectural needs. In the other bid we put out was for on-call peer review services. The on-call peer review services, that has been the process to try to create one dedicated on-call peer review firm for each of our permitting disciplines. We have actually a lot of the group that actually met and worked over the summer to actually with respect to the on-call peer review, we actually met last night to do a check-in about how things were working, what challenges there were. So we have the opportunity in the here and now to address those challenges as really they're arising and coming up. One of the takeaways from that meeting was to create really a process that everyone really had a better idea and in understanding and buy-in and really the rules of the road, that we provided a draft to each of the chairs of the to each chair of every board and commission that were there, and ask the chairs of that board and commission to take that draft back to their respective boards, to provide input, to weigh in, to identify any challenges entire boards have or see, all like as part of the process. One of the things that we talked about last night as well is specifically related to conservation and first of all, like establishing understanding that just because we have a peer review process doesn't mean that every board and commission has to send everything out for a peer review. And I want to that is an option. That doesn't have to be done in every form or based on every application. What was also talked about is whether or not we and the town and conservation have because having a peer review engineer, what is actually happening is an applicant likely already has an engineer, that they've retained and engaged, but where we would bring on where a board and commission would request the input of a peer review engineer is to provide input, provide engineering input based on the engineers, the engineering information in an application. Sometimes that could be needed. Sometimes a board and commission does have the ability to weigh in on something without that. But specifically, because of the cost of that, one of the things that were talked about last night is whether we have, and conservation has the opportunity, with a wetland scientist that the Conservation Commission has used in the past, whether the Conservation Commission has an ability to, whether Weston and Sampson has the ability to bring that wetland scientist on as a subcontractor. So we'd still have everything under the Weston Sampson roof in terms of alignment, but having that wetland scientist as a subcontractor could help the Conservation Commission do what they have to do, albeit in a way that the cost of that, and the rates of that wetlands scientist would be passed on through Weston and Sampson to the town, which would then those costs incurred would be paid through the 53G account of the applicant, and thereby saving the applicant some funds. So those things are being actively worked on and talked about. Through the meeting last night, we wanted to, we talked about it being very important that for each board, commission, and committee to weigh in on their own, and then really provide all that feedback back to the Board of Selectmen as well. So effectively, what I think I heard Mr. Hall talking about, we already have a lot of that in the works because we want to learn from where we've been in this process and try to make it better as well.
What my concern is twofold. One, by the Board of Selectmen putting a stamp on it.
Mm-hmm.
There is clarity and there's understanding that people will follow the rules of the road. Right now, rules of the road are in some instances gray, from my experience and conversations that I had today, people from stormwater and conservation. So everybody knows their lane, and they know when they can do something and when they can't. And then the second reason, that the Board of Selectmen have his back when the arguments come up or questions come up about when I can use this one, or when I can do this, and when I can do that. If you have a policy, then it's clear cut to everyone. And the town administrator is not the bad guy. You guys are all on the same page. These are the rules of the road. This is what we're doing. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Yes, Mrs. Goulart. How are you feeling?
Pretty good.
Good.
But I don't want to get near anybody.
No.
Nancy Goulart, Stormwater Committee Chair. I want to address something that Mr. Hull just said. As Mr. Mullin said roughly 6 months ago, we all got together. I believe you were there representing the Board of Selectmen, and that's when we went through the applications for engineering services, got it down to 3, interviewed 3, and the selection was made Weston and Sampson. Since that period of time, the Stormwater Committee has needed engineering services, but there's a policy and a practice and a procedure, whatever you want to call it, in place. Stormwater Committee does not, in itself, hire engineers, even Weston and Sampson. For each of the projects as they were coming along, I would go to Mr. Mullin and say, I'm going to need a stormwater final report on Brook Street. We all know the story with Brook Street, and they've done a lot of work at Brook Street at the expense of the developer, not at the expense of the town. That's a work in process. I then went to Mr. Mullin and said, I need a final stormwater inspection on the MACS, which we all know is Arujo solar farms. So Mr. Mullin, again, following procedure, got in touch to get the information we need. I have since requested I need a final stormwater report on Blue Wave, which is Middle and Tremont Streets. The reason I need these final reviews is that we don't have anybody in-house to do those. Right. If we did, we wouldn't be hiring this outside engineering firm, at least for this kind of work. But in order to have something verified that the stormwater management system as designed is working and it matches what was approved by the planning board. So Mr. Mullin is the person. So again, stormwater doesn't contract with engineers, period. Now, if you're an observer or you're present at a stormwater meeting, you may see 4 different engineers get up. We're not paying them. Each project, 3 solar projects, all have their own engineers. Quite often, they'll either Zoom in or they may be in person if they're working locally. And when we have a progress report or an update on any of those, quite often it's their engineer that gets up and speaks. So they get up and say, I'm so-and-so from such and such. And if you listen to this, you're going to say, they got engineers coming out of their ears. We're not paying them.
Right.
Stormwater Committee has no money to pay engineers. We don't hire engineers. We deal with a lot of engineers because they're the professional people that are there to answer the questions. But I just want to clarify that there is a process in place when we, and I'm only speaking for stormwater, everyone's supposed to follow the same procedure. But we follow exactly what we have to do in getting in touch with Mr. Mullin. And once it's set up, I may have discussions with the engineer about specific things we need to look at. But again, we have the procedure in place. And at the meeting last night, I think you were there when I said, Stormwater is happy with what has been going on. Following the procedure, whatever I need, I just go to Mr. Mullin and say, hey, we're going to need this, or we need to look at that, and anything Stormwater can do relative to sharing records or anything else, we're willing to do it. So, again, I'm only speaking for Stormwater, but there is a procedure in place, and you may see 4, 5, 6 engineers. We're not paying any of them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Smith.
Kevin Smith, Parks and Rec. I just wanted to give a quick update. and I forgot to reach out to Selectman Mello earlier for announcements. For the James Briggs Garden, we're gonna be doing a cleanup day Sunday at 2 o'clock. We're
Okay.
finally getting some buzz around the garden. Everybody wants to come work at the garden, so this is exciting. I've had another handful of people reach out to help. So if, anybody wants to come out and help, we're doing that Sunday at 2, and then we'll have, more opportunities for people to volunteer as the weather gets nicer and then we start planting. So, if anybody wants more information on that, they can contact me, ksmith@dayton-mass.gov, or Selectman Mello at nmello@dayton-mass.gov, and we can add you to the mailing list and send you some more info. I just wanted to touch base quick on what Selectman Pacheco spoke about policies regarding field use or town building use. If I could have the opportunity, if that's something that, I don't know if you guys will work on that collectively, or if it would be, Selectman Pacheco and Administrator Mullen, and they bring it back to you. But I'd really like to participate in that discussion, only because our field use are kind of intermingled. Like, you click on field use and it's a little bit confusing, one, about who you go to for what. And then just from a Parks and Rec perspective, what I've found over the last 3 years is, we've been super, super lenient with not implementing any fees, but I think it's almost like becoming detrimental, where we're taking care of these properties and we're not getting anything for it. And you can only be so nice for so long. Where we see where our budgets are going and how expensive materials are. It would just make, I think, especially from a Parks and Rec perspective, it would make our lives a lot easier if we did. And I'm not talking about going crazy, but I think we need to get a little something from certain groups. Like, I'm going to use, and they're great people, but like, I'm going to use DBSL, the Little League. Like, we allow them to use not the North Dayton Ball Field and Lane Field at no cost. They charge a fee for those kids to participate. It's not a free thing. It's not a town of Dayton facilitated league.
Yep.
So I think we need to start having that conversation about actually charging
that's a good point.
reasonable fees.
Their cause should not be our cause.
Correct. Like, if we can help you in some way, well, we're providing you with the space that you don't have at your complex, but we're also taking, and where I have an issue with it is, they'll have a cleanup day for, I hate to use this group as an example, but it's the best example I have, is they'll have a whole organized cleanup day for the Lopes complex, but then they'll send me complaints about the condition of, the North Dayton field. And a lot of it is weather. In the last 2 years, it's just been, you can't get equipment on it. You'll sink it and really ruin it. But it's, we field a lot of complaints, but we don't get a lot of community outreach as far as help. And they want porta potties, and they want this and they want that. So I think the time has come where we need to have a serious discussion about cleaning up that whole field use policy collectively, and then bring it back to the board and
That's a good point.
try to agree. I think we had talked about this at one point
Yeah, when we
a
talked
while
about
back, when
it.
even the Spratt field, it's a little bit confusing. So I think it's a good opportunity to kind of spearhead it and clean it up.
Okay,
So that's all.
great.
Thank you, guys.
I have some too, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Can I stay here?
Can you stay? Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thanks. I just wanted to start off by saying I'm excited to work with you guys. I think we're going to be a great board.
Sure.
And so I'm very confident in our board. And but it's an honor to sit up here with you guys. It's an honor to have the public's trust in their vote this past weekend. And I don't take that lightly. So thank you. And I look forward to working for all residents of Dayton. I wanted to talk about ethics. People are still getting to know me, and this is new to me, so I it's not required, but I want to do it anyways. I work for the city of Taunton. I work there at least 40 hours a week. Many weeks I work more, so I'm unavailable during business hours for Taunton. So I will get back to everyone, but it will most likely be after business hours, because the Taunton taxpayers deserve me for my contracted time with Taunton. But I will be available to talk to anybody. I will be available. I will make sure that my phone number and email gets on the Dayton website this week. If I am seen at a Dayton meeting, it will be during Taunton business hours. I will use my personal time. I've spoken to ethics. I started talking to them back in January. I have filed a disclosure with the town clerk. I am also on the electric light district, which is separate from the town of Dayton. Again, this is all new to me, so I have been working this out with ethics. It is appropriate, and you can use, I can use my time, my personal time in Taunton to attend these things, but as a Dayton person, if you find out these things, I want you to know, like, I've taken the steps, I've talked to ethics. I had a former selectman who might be in the audience tell me that it's best to ask now than ask for forgiveness. So I asked for things way ahead of time through ethics. But that's important to me, so I just wanted the residents of Dayton to know that. And I also want to talk about the open meeting law. I'm not an expert on the open meeting law, but it's a subject that I feel very strongly about and I enjoy, but I will not knowingly ever violate the open meeting law. If something is on this agenda, I will not discuss it with my fellow board members. I just wanted to state that publicly. I'm not saying anything. I'm just simply saying that that's a promise I'm making to the residents of Dayton, and that's all I'm saying. No more than that. And then I just wanted to lastly say thanks to Mr. Hull when I pulled papers and was running. Mr. Hull gave me his time to ask him if I had any questions. And it speaks to not only Mr. Hull, but what we do as a town. We're all here to work for what's best for Dayton and the residents of Dayton. And he saw an opportunity just to share some knowledge with me, and so, you know, and it helped me as a newly elected selectman serve the town. So, you know, we all work together, and but I don't know if that always happens in all different towns. You know, sometimes it can get very adversarial. So I just wanted to thank you, Selectman Hull, former Selectman Hull. So that's all I have.
Great.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. Okay. We have the approval of the minutes, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen regular meeting minutes of March 27th, 2024.
Second.
The motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. We are now going to go into executive session under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Sections 21A and 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair so declares, and the chair does declare, that an open meeting may have the detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. Thank you, guys.
A vote?
Oh,
Oh.
yes, I'm sorry. Vote to go into executive session?
Aye.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye.